They stood up and clapped when they announced my name. My mother clapped loudest of all, like she hadn't spent 18 years pretending I was her niece instead of her daughter. My father raised his glass to me from across the ballroom, like we were strangers meeting for the first time. And, in a way, we were. Because the daughter they were clapping for tonight wasn't the girl they sent away. She was someone they never met. My name is Dana Whitfield. I'm 29 years old, and tonight, in front of 400 people, I was about to hand my family the bill for 18 years of silence. I was 9 years old when my parents put 2 suitcases in the trunk of our car and drove me to my aunt's duplex in Millbrook, Ohio. My little brother Cole stayed home. He was 7, and he was, in my mother's words, still soft enough to shape. I was not soft. I asked too many questions. I noticed too much. So I became the daughter who lived with Aunt Ruth, and Cole became the son who stayed in the house with the good school district. Aunt Ruth was not warm in the way people write about in greeting cards. She was tired. She worked the overnight shift at a bottling plant and came home smelling like machine oil and coffee. But she never once made me feel like a burden. She signed my school forms. She sat through every choir concert in a metal folding chair with her purse on her lap. She taught me to budget grocery money on index cards because that's how her own mother had taught her. For 11 years, my parents called on birthdays sometimes. Christmas cards arrived some years addressed to the Whitfield girl, like they'd forgotten which one I was. Cole visited exactly twice. Once when he was 12 to show off a trophy. Once when he was 17 to ask Aunt Ruth for gas money because our parents had cut his allowance after a fender bender. I graduated high school with a scholarship to a state design program. Aunt Ruth sold her late husband's fishing boat to cover my dorm deposit. She never told me until 2 years later, when I asked why the boat wasn't in the yard anymore. She just said it wasn't doing anything but rusting. I built a life, slowly, quietly, with my own hands, and nobody in my family noticed until it started making noise. By 24, I was working under a boutique branding studio in Columbus, learning everything I could about visual identity and marketing. By 26, I'd partnered with a college friend named Priya Nasser to start our own agency. We called it Fieldstone Creative. Our first year, we billed under $200,000. By our third year, we crossed $4 million, mostly from restaurant groups and boutique hotel chains who wanted branding that didn't look like every other branding. Priya used to joke that I built pitch decks like someone raised by an accountant. I told her she wasn't wrong. Aunt Ruth's index cards taught me more about structure than any design professor ever did. I hadn't spoken to Cole in almost 2 years. I hadn't spoken to my parents in longer. So, when a message came through our agency's contact form in March, I almost didn't open it. The message was from a man named Victor Ames. He said he'd hired the Whitfield branding team to redesign his restaurant, Ledger House, based on a referral from someone named Cole Whitfield. He said he'd paid a deposit of $11,000 to Cole directly, believing Cole worked with me. He said the logo Cole delivered him was, in his words, clip art with a filter on it. He wanted to know if this was really my studio's work, because the invoice had my agency's name on the letterhead. I stared at that email for 10 minutes before I called Priya into my office. We hadn't done any work for Ledger House. We had never even heard of it. But somehow, my brother had used our agency's name, our letterhead, and apparently my professional reputation to collect payment for design work neither of us had touched. Priya pulled up our client intake log. Nothing. She pulled up our invoicing software. Nothing under that name either, which meant Cole hadn't just borrowed our name. He'd built fake documents to make it look official. I sat with that for a long moment before I said the only thing that made sense. This isn't the only one, is it? It wasn't. Over the following 6 weeks, Priya and I quietly traced 11 more clients. Small business owners mostly. A dog groomer in Dayton, a boutique gym owner, a married couple opening a taco stand. All of them had been approached by Cole, all of them had paid him directly, and all of them believed they were hiring Fieldstone Creative because Cole told them he was my operations partner. He wasn't. He'd never worked here. He'd never even visited our office. The total Cole had collected across those clients came to almost $60,000. $60,000 in deposits for branding work that, in most cases, never showed up at all, or showed up so poorly done that clients were now emailing us, furious, thinking we'd scammed them. I want you to sit with that for a second. My brother hadn't just used my name. He'd used my name to steal from strangers and left me holding the reputation damage. I found out where the money went 3 weeks later, and that's when everything cracked open. My parents' house, the same house I'd been sent away from, at 9 years old, had a new roof, a new deck, a used but nearly new SUV in the driveway. When I asked Aunt Ruth, gently, if she knew where that money came from, she went quiet in a way that told me she already suspected something. "Your mother mentioned Cole was doing well in sales," she said. "I never asked more than that. People don't like being asked more than that." I asked more than that. I hired a colleague of Priya's husband, a forensic accountant named Felix Draper, to help me understand what I was looking at, purely so I'd have facts before I said a single word to anyone. Felix pulled together a timeline. Cole had opened a sole proprietorship under a name almost identical to ours, Fieldstone Creative Group, with one word difference that most people wouldn't catch. He used that entity to collect payments, then funneled roughly 40% of it into home repairs and a down payment on that SUV, both registered to our parents' address. He'd been doing this for over a year. I didn't confront him right away. I needed proof strong enough that nobody could later say I was exaggerating or jealous or still holding a grudge from childhood, which is exactly the phrase my mother used the one time I tried to raise something in the past. While I built my case quietly, something else was happening that I didn't expect. The Columbus Design Guild, a respected industry association, had been reviewing nominees for their annual Rising Studio Award. In April, Priya got the call. Fieldstone Creative had been selected. It would be announced at their Spring Gala, a black tie event with sponsors, press and industry leaders from 3 states. 2 days after the announcement went public in a small trade newsletter, my mother called me for the first time in 14 months. "Dana, honey, we saw the article. We are just so proud of you." Her voice had that same practiced warmth I remembered from every school event she never attended. "We'd love to come celebrate with you, as a family." I let her talk. I let her ask which hotel the gala was at. I let her ask, almost too casually, whether Cole could come too. "Since you two used to be so close." I said I'd think about it. Inside, I already knew what I was going to do. I just wasn't ready yet. If you've ever had a sibling use your name to take something that wasn't theirs to take, tell me in the comments. And if this story is hitting close to home already, follow along. Because what happened at that gala is the part I still think about most. 3 weeks before the event, the gala coordinator, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Simone Kessler, called to confirm my guest list. I told her I hadn't submitted one. She said that was strange because a list had already come in under my studio's name, requesting 6 family seats at my table. I asked who submitted it. "A PR contact," she said. "Somebody named Cole Whitfield, listing himself as your communications manager." There it was. My brother had inserted our parents and himself into my award ceremony without asking me, using a title he had invented at an event honouring work he had never done a single hour of. He wanted the photo. He wanted the story. He wanted, more than anything, to stand next to me in a room full of cameras and let everyone believe we were a family that had simply grown apart and come back together, instead of a family that had thrown me away and was now trying to profit twice, once from strangers, once from me. I told Simone to leave the names on the list exactly as they were. I had a plan, and it required them to walk in expecting a reunion. The night of the gala, I wore a deep green dress Aunt Ruth had helped me pick out over video call, squinting at 3 different photos I sent her from the dressing room. Priya walked in beside me in a black suit, carrying a folder she'd been guarding all week like it was made of glass. We arrived at 6:45. My parents were already there, seated at table 1 with 2 open seats beside them, clearly meant for me and for Cole, who stood near the bar in a rented tuxedo, practicing his easy smile on anyone who walked past. My mother spotted me first. She stood, arms already opening. There she is, our girl of the hour. I did not walk toward her. I walked to Simone, who was standing near the entrance with the event's security lead, a retired detective named Marcus Boyle, who Simone had briefed earlier that week at my request. "Marcus," I said quietly, "can you confirm something for me? Are the seats at table 1 listed under my approval or under a submission from someone claiming to represent me?" He checked his tablet. "Submission came from a Cole Whitfield, self-listed as your communications manager. No sign-off from you on file." "Then those seats aren't mine to give," I said. "Please have them shown to the lobby. Quietly, if you can." He nodded and moved. I walked to table 1 myself, Priya a step behind me holding that folder. My mother's smile was already faltering by the time I reached the table. My father stood, glass in hand, doing the thing he always did when a moment slipped out of his control, laughing at nothing, trying to reset the room around him. "Dana, sweetheart, what's going on?" "You're not on my list," I said. "Cole put you there, using a title he invented, at an event honouring work you've never seen. Just like the $60,000 he collected from small business owners using our agency's name, the same money that paid for your new roof." The colour left my father's face first. My mother's hand, still holding her wineglass, began to shake, just slightly, the way it always did right before she raised her voice at someone smaller than her. Cole appeared at the edge of the table, drink in hand, smile already dimming. "Dana, can we talk about this somewhere else?" "We can talk about it right here," I said, and I nodded to Priya. She opened the folder. Inside were copies of 11 invoices from Cole's fake entity, Felix's financial summary connecting the funds to our parents' home improvements, and a printed email thread from Victor Ames, the restaurant owner who started this whole discovery, stating plainly that he had been misled by someone claiming to represent Fieldstone Creative. "I'm not doing this to humiliate you in front of strangers," I said, loud enough for the nearest tables to hear, but not shouting. "I'm doing this because you spent 18 years pretending I didn't exist until my name became useful. And when it did, you didn't come to celebrate me. You came to spend me." Marcus and a second staff member arrived to walk my parents toward the lobby, quietly, professionally, the way you'd expect from a well-run event, not a scene from a movie. My mother tried one more time. "Dana, we are your parents. Aunt Ruth is my family," I said. "You're people who share my last name." Cole didn't get walked out. He stayed rooted where he stood, staring at the folder in Priya's hands like it might disappear if he looked hard enough. I turned to him last. "You have 30 days to refund every client you took money from, in full. I have all 11 names, all 11 amounts, and copies of everything. If it's not done, this folder goes to Victor Ames's lawyer, and then to the State Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division. I'm not interested in destroying you. I'm interested in this never happening to anyone else." He didn't argue. He just nodded, jaw tight, and walked toward the exit without another word. I gave my acceptance speech 20 minutes later. I thanked Priya, I thanked our clients, and I thanked, by name, a woman who sold her husband's fishing boat, so a 9-year-old girl nobody wanted could have a dorm room. Everything good I've built, I told that room, I built because one person decided to stay when it would have been easier to let me go. The room stood and applauded for almost a minute. I didn't need to count it to know it was real. Cole refunded every client within 26 days. Victor Ames sent me a short, kind email afterward, thanking me for making it right and asking, half joking, if my studio might take on his rebrand for real. We did. It's one of our favourite projects to date. My parents sold that house 8 months later. I heard about it second-hand, the way I hear most things about them now, which is to say, rarely, and without much feeling attached to it anymore. Aunt Ruth still keeps a folding chair by her front door, the same one she used to bring to my choir concerts. Some Sundays I drive out to Millbrook, and we sit on her porch with sweet tea, and she tells me which stitches are crooked in whatever I'm working on that week, because some habits never really leave you. The girl my parents left behind in a duplex in Millbrook was never really theirs to leave. She was Ruth's, she still is.